First part's real easy. If you just tell me your name and spell it and your title, so that people editing this.
You want the full title on it?
Yes.
Okay.
And spelling and name and everything. Go ahead.
My name is Anthony J. Costello, Costello. I'm the Irving Distinguished Professor of Architecture at Ball State University, Muncie, Indiana. Did I get that right? Okay.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay.
Okay, tell me what we were talking about. It's a community-based projects program.
Right.
Why was this ever even established?
Well, it was actually established in 1969, so 4 short years after the College of Architecture and Planning was founded at Ball State. There was a real sense among many of the faculty that being a state-supported College of Architecture and Planning, that we really owed, in a sense, a service back to our constituents, namely the citizens of Indiana. And part of what we felt we could do in a very unique way was to offer technical assistance to cities and towns and neighborhoods in the state of Indiana. Right along with that, and certainly in concert, is the idea that that would allow us to offer our students very unique learning experiences in the field, so to speak, where they could learn by doing. So really it's a program that combines student education with public education, and also affords communities the technical assistance that is here in both faculty and students of our college.
Why are communities interested? What do they benefit from?
Many of them are at certain stages, obviously, with redevelopment and planning activities. A lot of them, quite honestly, do not have the financial resources, at least up front, to go out and hire professional consultants. We feel that we really act as a catalyst, and many times, in fact, the Ball State work is used to go out and to obtain grant funding to then continue on with professionally assisted planning endeavors. There is, as you well know, in whether it's a small town or an inner city neighborhood, there is a tremendous need for both physical and economic revitalization efforts. And of course, Ball State, having architecture, landscape architecture, urban planning, and preservation programs, really fits in with many of the needs of the communities.
What have you done right here in Muncie?
Well, in Muncie, since 1980, we have had what we call the Muncie Urban Design Studio, and that is really our ongoing Muncie-based community projects program. We have done a number of studies downtown, which have in fact led to implemented projects designed and executed by professionals. Most recently, we've been involved in the industry neighborhood with what's called the 7th Street Demonstration Project. And this is kind of exciting because we have brought together several programs involving new housing, infill, rehabbed housing, street tree replacement, new curbs and sidewalks. And rather than have those spread out, we've been involved with a local not-for-profit neighborhood association in concentrating those on one block of 7th Street, therefore the name 7th Street Demonstration Project.
Similar things done elsewhere in Indiana?
Yes, certainly any of the cities which have major older neighborhoods are involved in a wide range of programs. In fact, one of our most recent and ongoing programs is the Urban Design Studios consultancy with the Urban Enterprise Association here. 14 cities have urban enterprise associations and zones in Indiana, and we've been consulting to Muncie's on an ongoing kind of inner city revitalization effort.
Do you just try to revitalize older homes, older houses, older buildings, or is it new construction?
Absolutely, both. I think one of the really exciting things is attempting to educate our students and, if you will, the citizenry to when is it appropriate to adaptively reuse a historic building, when is it financially not feasible to, when is a building really, with any objective reasoning beyond, in a sense, a cost-effective point of being rehabitable. So a lot of what we do is attempt to deal with kind of an appropriateness of when is new construction really the optimum solution, but when is also historic preservation and adaptive reuse the most appropriate.
Well, when you design and develop these ideas, what happens next? Does the city then take over?
Right. We are not in the business of implementation, and in fact that would run counter to really the mission of the university. We will help a community with implementation, i.e. grant submissions, helping to interview professionals, but ultimately when a project does reach a point of needing to be implemented, then obviously registered architects and landscape architects or professional planners need to be hired, and we stress this from the very beginning of our involvement.
Is this a program that is growing in Indiana?
Yes, it is. I guess right now we probably in the last 23 years we've assisted close to 100 localities. The Urban Design Studio here in Muncie has been ongoing for 12 years, and our demand is great. A number of small towns and even entire counties are in need of comprehensive planning. So certainly there is no lack, if you will, of communities that are requesting our assistance.
Do they range from the north part of the state all the way to the south?
Yes.
Examples?
Yeah, examples, I guess. Let me give you the extremes. We've assisted Whiting, and you can't get much further northwest than that. We've worked down in Madison on the Ohio River. We've worked in a little community called Hamilton Lake, which is in the northeastern part near Angola. And we've also done a lot of work in the Clinton and Sullivan area near Terre Haute. So we really feel, since we are the only state-supported College of Architecture and Planning in the state of Indiana, that we really needed to try to, if you will, serve the entire state. That's what makes our mobile studio capability so important, is that we really can serve communities remote from Muncie.
How many students usually work on such a project?
On a charrette workshop, which is a very concentrated 3-day workshop in a community, we will typically have between 8 and 12 students and about 4 faculty. I would say in the last 12 years through the Muncie Urban Design Studio, probably close to 1,000 students and 25 faculty have participated for as little as a 2 or 3 day project, and for some students for their entire graduate work with us, which may be a 2.5 year stint. So that's the other beauty of the program, is it's very flexible, and we've actually had freshmen take part and graduate students, and that's another thing, of course, that we try to do, is to use students at their appropriate level of education as well.
Who in the cities and towns do you work with? The city managers? What titles?
It ranges. I guess it is probably everything from certainly being called in by mayors and city and town councils. County commissioners have been the contact person. What's very interesting now that we've been in existence for 25 years is the fact that our alumni, who are architects and landscape architects and planners throughout Indiana as well as the rest of the nation, are really beginning to become kind of a feeder network for us. So as they join Chamber of Commerce's, as they're involved in their own localities, and many of them, by the way, as students worked with the Community-Based Projects program, we're finding that very often the initial contact person will be a Ball State alum from our college. And that's very nice, because we certainly invite them then to stay involved as concerned citizens. And the fact that they may very well, as practicing architects and landscape architects and planners, become involved further down the road. It's kind of like coming full cycle, which is nice for us to see.
Hey, I like it. Sounds good. Anything else you'd like to add?
Have a good day.
The hands at work. Oh, there's no drawing going on here.
Whatever you're doing.
Mm.
Okay, 2 more shots.
I guess it wasn't really consideration, but when I think about it over there, I feel it'll almost be too much of a trek, unless that's part of the.
Well, that's the other thing, is they really do want elderly to walk. I mean, that is one of the exercises that really does help them in terms of physical therapy. The idea, that a person comes out here and this becomes part of it. The other thing is that somehow you deal with kind of a half module, and you actually deal with the idea that alleys would always run through cities at the half block. So maybe you get a major circulation module and then a minor circulation module. That might help you analogous to an alleyway down this. It might also give you a more logical notion of even these blocks having, let's say, some sort of a service module, and you might even break the roof and do something. And there's always a system. See, grid, and you want to say, well,
Subdivide that even.
subdivide that into another planning module. And then I think you'll be down to a planning module that probably will really begin to fit rooms. And if you think of the alleys having a certain right of way, and then you'll be a rhythm. So you've got a major span and a minor span and a major span. And then these would typically be the small rooms, like the bathrooms, the mechanical rooms, because those are the ones that, and if you look of sizes of spaces. Yeah, this, you know, and I don't expect you to have, you might look at just like a house on a corner becomes special. Does the corner module here, instead of just taking these and turning them, do you, and I'm going to move this for the sake of the model, do you do something special on the corner like a good corner house should do something special? Now, I don't think it wants to be the scale. So maybe what begins to happen is that special things like the nursery or like a special room helps you to turn the corner here rather than just taking the modules and in fact simply turning them 90 degrees.
I felt that something like that might put too much emphasis on this corner when more of the importance was pulling around in this direction.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think this has to be any more than maybe a portion of a bay window is turned at 45 degrees. And again, that's a good point. At what program is beginning to flash out on the site. The other thing would be to deal with the corner as a void, as a little best pocket park. So this becomes a little seating area for the bus stop, you know, and so on and so forth. It might mean, because again, I'm thinking that probably you might want to look at the idea of the modules being spaced so that if these become the playrooms, the staff areas, the closets, the restrooms, they become the module. And I would hold those back so that when you look down the street, you don't see that. You really think these are freestanding kinds of.
Do you think they should actually be lined up though, or should I make them?
If you're going to use the analogy of a neighborhood, many times they really would. Many times the porches would simply have a slight variation, but since there was a setback line, you'll find most of the house proper absolutely lined straight up. The reason that they don't look into each little office suite was like set in, so there was a little sense of like a forecourt before you went into a classroom, in that case an office suite. Maybe that same kind of thing can begin to happen around it.
So that you wouldn't actually, maybe on these two, you wouldn't actually enter into this one from the front, but off from the side.
So I actually given the size of the project, I'm not sure what this all wants to be. My gut reaction is, I like what you were saying about literally using the analogy that although this is inside. Titles are cheap, so you really pick out a one sure. Absolutely.
If that was ground question, but ground level is there more below, you got another 4-foot wall down there. Should be you have to deal with it. See, and your wall is way up here. No, this guy here, there's nothing under here. Here's your shadow.
That very often.